all systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Wednesday PGA Show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got my guy Hoop here with me, as always, going to break things down. Hoop, well, we're back, I should say. Not as always, because didn't have you here last week, but Keeper Cut is back. Hit the like on the way in. Subscribe to the channel. Going to break some things down for you guys, but should be a fun one. Valero Texas Open. Going to be talking all things roster construction, ownership. We'll go through the tiers, but as always, we're going to be applying them to the process, how you can use them, how we think other people are building. Going from there, we're probably not talking too much about Bones getting the heave-ho. I don't know what's happening there. Maybe JT is picking up somebody really strong heading into the Masters. Just dropped Bones.
What, he cut Bones?
Well, they mutually parted ways. That's how it always
Really?
is.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so, damn. Maybe that means Rory's going to pick up Bones. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but Hoopster, what's going on, man? Wednesday afternoon, ready to break these things down. How you doing?
Man, yeah, it kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, you remember the altercation I had with JT last year at the Rocket Mortgage when he stiffed my kid. Like the only nice part about that situation was Bones, who took the picture with my son. So I'm kind of rattled here to start the show. When did this break? Today?
Seconds, like minutes ago.
Oh, okay. That's why I thought it was something like I missed. Yeah. Pretty big news, but yeah,
we were on a business call discussing phase 3 over here at SHIPIT Nation, the teaser we put out there for quite a while. And Hoop was really paying attention to all that was being said, and I was paying attention to Twitter and what's going on with JT and Bones. But yeah, go ahead, man. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty big news, but yeah, happy to be back. We'll be together here moving forward. Obviously, each of us took a little vacation. Now it's full force moving forward. We got the Masters next week, which is super exciting. We're gonna have a ton of content and some big announcements in terms of what we're doing next week with the Masters. That'll be coming, believe tomorrow on the Showdown show. So make sure you tune into that. Looking forward to this. I mean, in terms of field, it's pretty solid. I mean, this is an event that's usually a weaker field, but there's names here for sure. We have the 5K range to talk about as well. But looking forward to breaking this one down with you.
Yeah, Illini fan comes in with the Rory from the top rope right out of the gate. He does win the week before majors a lot. It would actually make it better, to be honest, for me. Not just DFS, but as a fan, I talked with Mayo about this today. Like, everyone's so hyped for the Masters. Me too. Of course, everyone is. But if Rory wins this, it would be so awesome because you'd have Rory, Scheffler, then you'd have all the live guys coming in. Like, whatever happens, it doesn't even really matter what happens over there in Miami this week or down in Miami, but just to see how that goes. And then I'm interested to get some of your takes when we get to these ranges on what you think the ownership is going to be. But just off the top, as always, we'll go through it quickly so that you guys can follow suit. If you do want to get into SHIPIT Nation, make sure you use that code HOOP15. You can use it on the PGA only memberships. You can use it on the MLB only memberships, or you can use it on the all access, which I do got to talk about for 2 seconds, Hoop, because we did a little bit of a thing this week. We got a bunch of people over to try it out, check out PGA for free. And people asked about this and all these different things that we're going to be doing upcoming. But I do got to let you know, because we always say we're going to talk about this, and we said there's big news coming soon. Just to keep it here, we told you guys this like 2 months ago. We actually said it almost 12 months ago, because our 1-year anniversary is coming up on May 15th, that this would be going to $699. So just of note, while other sites are still charging $500-$600 for one sport, if you are trying to lock this in, not only is the $599 going to go to $699, so that's one part, but the 15% off codes are going to go away. So it'll go back to 10% or nothing at the time being, whatever it ends up being. So for $509 to lock it in, we're going to get this stuff out of the way right off the top to get all the sports. Did want to let you know that the 6 month is only going up slightly if you wanted to chop it up a little bit, but it can drop at as little as $42 a month. That may become important for other options. And then one note too, Mayo always brings it up. I think it's great during a week like this. If you didn't get in, you can try out a week for free right now, or sorry, not for free, for $14, almost free, $2 a day. And you would get right through till next week's content, which the Masters content will all come out on Tuesday, Wednesday, like always as well. So if you bought a week today, it would include everything for this week, all of the showdown slates for this week. You could get up to date on the education course, and then you would have, of course, get next week's coverage as well for the Masters. Hoop, anything else you want to add there before we get into it? Obviously, the Masters going to be super exciting for more reason than one over here at the Nation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to get in. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you start looking around the industry, the price tags, they're not coming backwards. They continue to go up, and you see sites pop up with new sports. And like, it's exactly what we said and we've been talking about. Any site that announces a new sport, the price tag is immediately $500 to $600 for that sport. So we've been saying all along. We're not bullshitting you when we talk about this on the show. It's proof. It's fact. Our prices are never getting to that point. It's the most affordable, the best value in the industry, and we are not done. Like Tambo just said, we've been on business calls the last 2 days, all day long, in working to improve this product, working to make it better for our members. And again, we are not going to stop until we are the spot. We're not going to stop until we are the spot where people come for DFS. And this is the only spot you need to be. That's what we want to make it. This is the spot you need to be and nowhere else. That's where we want to get to.
Affordable, not cheap. Others cannot compete. A price that you can't beat. Come check it out, SHIPITNation.com. I think you should do it now. That's the main thing. Use Hoop 15, like you said, but that's enough of that stuff. We'll get into this week. There is a lot more coming. And remember, if you've been with us from the start, we told you we would take care of you. That's going to be part of it as well. So no fear on any of that stuff. But Hoop, let's get into this, man. Let's start talking about it. Let's get into the Valero. One thing about being in Texas, we saw it last week with the weather. AM PM actually last week ended up being the wave. It was 10 of the top 13 were in the AM PM wave. And then this week we've got Valero Texas Open. So we're right back into Texas. You can definitely wave stack. It has nothing to do really with the weather for me, but I know some people were looking at it earlier. Did you see anything with the weather at all that stood out, or do you care about that at all this week?
Yeah, it looks like, pretty even split on Thursday. Then on Friday, it's going to just be more windy. So I don't think there's a distinct advantage one way or another. But again, you can always do the wave stacks. I mean, you've done a phenomenal job of talking about this all the time and explaining it to the people. And I think it's certainly in play, especially in a spot like Texas where the winds can kind of just, pop up and start gusting. So you can always do the wave stacks, but in terms of a distinct advantage, one side or the other, definitely not seeing it this week.
Yeah, I think that's one thing to focus on. And then some questions coming up. We'll get to these ones when we get to the ranges. But I mean, if you start with Oberg, you were definitely not in the sixes. Like we were building lineups today with Mayo, it's like Oberg and Connors. You can start. I think you can still get Glover and stay in the low sevens. So, I mean, like you can definitely build a cash lineup very easily with those guys this week. I think that's a possibility. We'll have it all up on the site. I think, Hoop, you got most of it up. I know the value report is up. All the other stuff is there. We're waiting on the final projections and ownership, which come out this evening. By the way, want to say thank you to all those that did take part in the PGA Free Weekly that we had, because that was just a one-time promo. We gave you plenty of time to get in on it. If you want to see more of that in the future, you can let us know that feedback. It's, we posted up on X at SHIPIT. We put it out on our own Twitters and put it out there for you guys. But mainly just want you to see that, we've got all this stuff coming that you'll be able to see. The Stone, the core reports, the value reports, the tier rankings, all the showdown stuff, the core set rankings, all of it comes out early. Tuesday, we had a bunch. Even we've worked to have and continue to improve and add on, but we updated the Stone to have a rough draft out on Tuesday. That's something we're committed to. The initial projections and ownership on Tuesday, that's something we're committed to, where others in the industry lag behind. So just wanted to keep that up for you guys. You let us know if you have any feedback at all. If you did sign up for the free week, you will get a special offer on Sunday to carry on through the Masters. So let us know. If you're already a weekly member and you want to upgrade, or if you're a monthly member and you want to get all access or whatever it is, you can always reach out to info@shipitnation.com. We'll get you taken care of. Make sure you get the right deal. We prorate it so you don't lose out. You can upgrade as early as today, et cetera, et cetera. So reach out if you guys have any questions, info@shipitnation.com. Shout out to our guy, Colin, always in here supporting. We appreciate you. Just of note on this, we will have a show on round 2. We're always just open about this stuff so we know. Round 3 and round 4 won't be there this week, but we are committed to the Masters and beyond. It's one extra week than what we'd originally said, but it's because we have a lot coming down the pipeline. All of this information will be public knowledge sooner than later. But just want to give you the heads up what it'll be. Hoop and I will both be on that show tomorrow night for round 2. So just wanted to let you guys know that. All of our standard showdown content, these are the free shows. That's why we keep them free. Others charge for premium shows. Ours are free like that because most of the premium shows probably should be free. They just happen at different times of the slate. But just to note it, all of the Stone tool, the projections, the ownership with all the updates will all be up still for round 2, round 3, round 4, round 1 for projections and ownership as well. And then I didn't see any others there. No. So the solver is not included in the monthly, but just of note, like PGA only right now is $39 a month. The code Hoop15 takes it to 33, and then you can get the solver for 25. So basically for 33 and the 25 is 58. You're paying 58 bucks, including the solver optimizer, where we upload it all automatically throughout all the rounds. So on a month of 4 slates, you're getting 5 slates a week, right? 4 weeks, I should say, you're getting 5 slates with the round 1, 2, 3, 4, and the main. That is the same price as most places are charging $60 for just content, and it's not even the amount of content that we have. So just note that for sure. But Hoop, let's talk about this tournament. Any stats, anything you're looking at? One of the big notes I had off the top and get your take on this is like Corey Connors, course history. Both years that he won, I believe it was like 10 or more of the top 15 in this field were not playing that year. It doesn't take away from him and different times of, how easy it was versus how firm and all these things. But just to note it, it's not quite the same field that these guys were playing in when they have their course history here. So maybe you could discount that a little bit, but just curious your thoughts on that to start things off.
Yeah, just a couple quick comments to address. Damn, all these teases today, they will not be teases for very long. That's one thing I'll tell you. The stuff we're working on is going to be public matter of 6-7 days. So teases, they're not going to be teases for long.
Coming to an end, Kim. If Kim's watching, yes, they're coming to an end, I promise.
Yeah. And then do we get Hoops grass cut service with the monthly? I could introduce a new Discord channel where I give the members some tips on grass cutting and lawn care and maintenance and whatnot. That is something could potentially look into. But for now, it's free. So you can get in there and ask any questions you have in regards to the grass cutting stuff. We talked about it a little bit on the show. Well, we keep hitting the same thing.
I was going to say that we don't need a new channel. We have one. It's called Mush Vacation. It's a ghost town. You can go on in there and post all the grass pics that you want. Go ahead.
Yeah. We talked about it on the show Monday. This is a stronger field than we typically see here. So you do need to discount the, course history, I think, just a little bit. I mean, we typically don't see these big names in this field. So, yeah, Corey Connors' win definitely is not, as not weighing it as much as if he was playing in the same field that he won in, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, I'm fine with that. In terms of some of the other stuff that I'm kind of looking at this week, recent form is always important for me. But the course history stuff, yeah, I'm willing to discount it a little bit because of how strong this field is. Not how strong the field is, but how much stronger it is than we typically see here.
Yeah, I said no. Like, well, you never know. You never say never, but that's not what this tease is. We definitely, have talked about that in the past. In the future, as things evolve, I will say I definitely think there's room for that, but it's not what we're talking about when we're going here. So not good on the guesses so far, but just in general, we'll keep it rolling. Hoop, let's talk about this. The chat was asking earlier, what do we do with Rory? Some people think he's just here to warm up. He is 12-3. So he's, a couple notes. He's not 13K like Scheffler was. It is still easy to fit him. I actually have a bet with Mayo, so we'll talk about this in a little bit when it comes to ownership. But, the pricing is set up again like it has been. The 6K range is the new 7s. There's 18 or 19 guys in the 7s, but there's like 30 in the 6s that could easily have just been the rest of the 7K range, like the weeks where we see 45 7K guys. So the pricing is just to make Rory work or make multiple studs work. So any other thoughts on that? And then you could apply it to Rory directly and what you think you're doing with him. We can go Colin Morikawa, 10-1, up to Rory, and then some roster construction thoughts about how you think people are going about it here.
Yeah. Love our guy Mayo for sure, but I'm definitely on your side of that bet. I mean, people are going to look at the name Rory and then look at the names even a little bit below him, like Rory Hideki. I mean, Rory's typically at the top. Hideki is not in this range for the most part. I love Ludwig Aubert, however you pronounce his name, but he's typically not all the way up here. Rory's the name that is usually up here, and I think people will just settle there because it's easy to do. Like, it's easy to play him. People look at the price tag 12-3 and say, oh, I got to make sacrifices to my lineup. No, you really don't. There's a lot of guys in the 6K range you can play. If you plug in Rory, you're sitting at 7,500. If you play, let's put a 6,300 guy in. I plugged in Toasty. You're all the way back to 78.5, and there's very reasonable guys in the 7K range. So it's going to be easy to play Rory lineups, and I think people do it at the end of the day. Aubert's going to be popular. I mean, people play this guy. I love playing him. He's made us a shit ton of money. We were riding him in the swing season. It worked out great. This guy's going to start winning on tour. I'm very confident he is, and people realize that. They're going to be on him. So I personally think the guy that gets squeezed a little bit is Hideki. And I like Hideki. We talked about it a little bit on the Monday show. I think he's a great play because I do think he comes in lower than Rory and Ludwig. By how much? I don't know, maybe 5-6%, somewhere in that range. But I think he comes in lower than those two guys. And then Morikawa is a guy to me that just shouldn't be up here. Like, he has just not been playing well. His odds don't match really being up in this range. He's like 25, 28 to 1. And he just has not done anything this season to where you need him. I mean, a cut, 14th at the Pebble Beach, pretty weak field. 19th at the Genesis, that probably wasn't enough. Cut at the Arnold Palmer, and then 45th at the Players, like, just not having a great year. Like, I need to see something out of him before I play him over some of these other guys around him. So, what I am personally going to do with Rory, I typically like to make stands, but I'll probably play him right around the field. I mean, do I think he's in the greatest form? Absolutely not. Like, would I like to fade him this week? Absolutely. But if I fade him, where do I go? If Scotty Scheffler was in this field, I would 100% be fading Rory this week, and I wouldn't think twice about it. Just don't have that option. Like, Rory getting a 15th this week, which I think is very realistic, could still be something that you need to win in GPP. So I'll be reluctantly in on Rory and probably around the field. Obear I like much more, and Hideki I like much more up here. And then Morikawa is just a easy fade for me this week.
Yeah, one thing about this, besides the free yard mowing giveaways, we do actually have our guy B-Wald had a huge week last week, 4K, shipped the $10 18 max for 4K on the classic slate, and then won another 22 Millymaker ticket for next week. And B-Wald, this is Brian England. I know it's not B-Wald, he brought up the giveaways. It reminded me for our guy B-Wald that we are giving away 2 monthly PGA only memberships. So if you are a free week this week and you're tuning in to watch, we can upgrade you. If you're already a member, we can add it on, whatever it might be. But definitely let us know in the chat, what you would use the membership for, why you deserve it, why you want it. Throw that in the chat, and we'll pick from somebody out there that we can give these away to. Shout out to our guy B-Wall for giving back. That's what this community is all about. It's just 2 more free memberships. So there's B-Wall right there.
It's a great comment. Yeah, I agree, honestly. But it's like, when there's something with me, and I'm just never on Rory the weeks he just goes off. So I'm always fearful to full fade. But I do think he sucks. I'll be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think you were on the right side of my bet. So we'll see how that goes with Mayo. But one of the things is, just because it still is, this is what we learned last week when Alex came on. Again, shout out to Lee for the Monday First Look last week, and Alex just stepping in to help us out and fill in for some of these shows. It was awesome. But, one of the things with Scotty last week, it just got so easy to get to him, because it was like, wait a minute, it's going to be kept in check at 40, ended up getting to 50, but I mean, it could have been a lot more. And then it was like, there was just so many other guys that you could see below him failing. On top of the fact, there was guys in the 6K range that were more than playable, a ton of them. So I was like, my thought is, let's get heavier on this guy. If there's even a thought that Rory could come in lower than he currently is, I still have interest, because I'm not going to play into the narrative of, he's just here to check it out. If you look at the history of what he's been talking about, and with all the stuff he's working on, he was just at Augusta National. He's going back. I think he went back Tuesday or something. So we'll see what happens with that. But
it's just the worst argument, though, too. The week before a major, how the hell would you ever know which guy is just here to be here and not win? And even if that person comes in with the mindset, they're like, all right, I'm just going to come here and warm up for the Masters, and they start their tournament at the Valero, birdie, 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 do you think they're not going to change their mindset and say, all right, well, yeah, now I'm going to go out and win this thing? It is the most difficult thing to pinpoint. It's literally the worst talking point. I hate it. I hate the week before majors when people start talking like that.
Yeah, it's always been the case. There was years Ricky Fowler was talked about, and then he crushed in it and did okay, or 10th or 17th or something. And the year Spieth won, there was no way. But it's honestly, yes, I'd rather win $1 million next week than 100K this week. That would be way better for me in DFS. Obviously, it's 10X. I would want that. But I'm going to try and win 100K this week. And I know it's not exactly the same. People act like they literally try and come second so that they don't blow their first place, because they need to save it for next week. Yet Scotty Scheffler can win 2 weeks in a row and then almost 3. So it's they're just trying to win the tournaments they're in, man. You'll take any win that you can get at any time and move on. You play with what's in front of you. It's all you can do. So I'm fine. Rory's just easy to get to. So it's not you have to go crazy overweight here. I just think I can get to him easily. I think we'll see on the Decky versus Oberg, because the way the ownership is, but I actually like Morikawa. Mayo talked me into him a little bit today. The funny thing is even if you put aside the fact that the field has got stronger than what we've seen these guys win in the past and what I brought up off the top, It's that typically you still are seeing these, heavy duty ball strikers do quite well and solid stuff there. And like Hideki and Morikawa, when they're on, this is two of the best ball strikers out there. So whether or not they are, that's a week to week thing. So, but he's been so horrible lately. Yeah, until he's not. It's just how it goes. It's golf, can change up in a heartbeat. We've seen it a ton of times. Different weeks, someone bounces back. It's hard to get it right. We're more so playing the long-term game, or at least I am for these types of spots. So like Rory and Kawa stand out, and then somewhere in the middle on those other guys. But Rory and Kawa are the two that stand out to me up top. And you can build the Rory Kawa lineups too, by the way. You can go off of that. If you are wave stacking, Mayo and I were doing it earlier today. It's Rory and Decky are in the same wave. So it became more builds that were built around those two. And you get the two highest priced guys. You avoid the Oberg chalk, go down from there. But I just think in general, other ways that you can go about it. I think starting with Morikawa would be an interesting lineup construction as well, Hoop. So can move on. Let's go to this 9K range. It's very small. I think there's 6 guys. Yeah, 6 guys. Max Homa down to Benny Ann. And I'm not sure if you think this range or the 8K range goes more overlooked, but in building lineups with Mayo earlier today, it definitely felt like besides Connors, it was way easier to get into the Noren, Harmon, Scott, English, Henley range and pick your poison. I'm just saying that was sort of where we were getting into on most of our lineups that weren't double stud up top.
Yeah, I think more people go to the 9K range than the 8K range just because of how easy it is. And there's some names here that people are going to like. Corey Connors, I haven't really looked at ownership all that closely. I'm assuming he's going to be one of the higher owned guys on the slate. Yeah. Fair price tag, good course history, been playing well. His finishes have been getting better as well along the way. So people like all that stuff. Has to be highly owned, and I'll be playing him. I mean, I like Corey Connors, and again, if you start your teams, when you play Corey Connors and you pair him with one other popular guy, that's when you have to start, really thinking about what you're doing. Like if we think Aubert is going to be popular up top, if you start Aubert Connors, be careful with the rest of your spots. Don't play another popular guy alongside with them. I mean, I don't know who else is going to be popular. Let's say Alex Noren. You plug in Noren, like that trio is going. That trio is going to be very popular. Even Connors, Noren start. Then you need to be a little bit, cautious of what you do. But I'm going to be on Connors. I love Connors. I think he's a phenomenal play. The rest of this range, though, it does have question marks. Like there's question marks around all these guys. Max Homa is a name. I think Max Homa is good, but I'd definitely say it's been a disappointing season overall for him. I do like him though this week. Matt Fitzpatrick have not played a lot of Fitzpatrick this year. The one thing I do like about him though, his finishes have been pretty solid. Like he had the 5th at the Players, 15th at the Phoenix Open, 21st at the Cognizant. That wasn't great, but there is some volatility in his game, but I do like him this week. I think he can do well. Jordan Spieth is going to be a pass for me. He's a guy that I need him to be in good form. And like to your point that you always bring up, which I think is good, this could be the week that he gets into form. There's no doubt about that, but I won't be on him this week if this is the week he gets into form leading into the Masters. Like his game has been a mess, and I don't like what I've seen out of him. I know he's been successful at this course, but I have zero interest in Spieth this week. Fleetwood at 9.2K. We'll come back to him because he's going to be the first keeper cut option. I guess I'll kind of throw that out there so you can get in the chat. Fleetwood's going to be the first keeper cut because I don't really know what I want to do with him. And then Benny An had been playing really, really well, missed the cut at the Players Championship, but prior to that, 8th, 21st, 16th. I like going right back to Benny An here at 9K. So Fleetwood is the guy. Just seems like he always disappoints. Typically does not play well over here. 9.2K. He does look better than a lot of these guys when we start getting into the 8K range. So yeah, I don't know what to do with Fleetwood.
Yeah, so we'll let it load up. People see it on the screen. Keeper cut, Tommy Fleetwood, break down some of the roster construction stuff. But Austin nails this, by the way, too. Like, just put way too much stock into it. I know it's not like heavy, but it's enough conversation around it. And like you said, I definitely think guys could say, forget it when they're out of it. That's the case, but they were already out of it. Those lineups are dead anyway. So what we're saying is more of you're putting them in. They're going to start out trying to play well. If everything goes their way, they're going to keep it rolling. If not, probably bounce from there. Nick knows this. This is Rory and Spieth, by the way. Rory and Spieth, put them in some lineups together. They both end up doing well. The narratives, they're amazing going into the Masters where they crush, and then they do bad next week. That could definitely be the case. Deacon to Legend says, took your advice, entered that. Definitely last shot, guys, to get in for the $100 Millie Makers. Some great satellites out there for the 2222 Mega. These are life-changing opportunities. I know it's still impossible. It feels like it's impossible to beat it. I shouldn't say it is, but it feels really difficult to beat those types of tournaments. But when you get in for a satellite ticket, who gives a shit? Get in and play it. Give yourself a shot. Maybe you do win the Millie and change your life. So Bart really knows what's up. Shout out, like the pick. Dad and his kid. That's awesome. Says, I got to say it. 149 watching and only 66 likes, guys. Come on, Bart. Calls it like it is. My man Bart, first winner of the monthly PGA membership. You're right. You're calling it like you see it. That's what we like to do here as well. I think you're going to fit in just right. So shout out to B-Wald for giving it away. Whatever plan you're on now, you'll get upgraded. If you're not, and you're already, you're not in at all, we'll get you a membership. Give us a email to info@shipitnation.com. Just got to screenshot your YouTube account so we know it's you. So send that out. You are our first winner. Shout out to B-Wald for giving that away. I'll say this without counting them up too heavy. It's pretty even here, Hoop, on the keeper cut. So maybe my 2 votes would count here, and I'm definitely going to keep Tommy Ladd in. I think it's a good spot. He fits well. He's solid in our course fit rankings. He's 9,200, which is $200 less than Connors. I think it's just a good spot if you do want to make a pivot, because I will say this about roster construction is like, if you're going to go Connors to start in cash, let's say, or in a GPP, whatever you're going to do, and you're going to look for that win equity plus 6-6 made cut percentage, that sort of thing. You're going to try and build that way. With just Corey Connors as the starting point, it is kind of hard to say you're leaving out Rory, Decky, Oberg, Morikawa, Homa, Fitz, Spieth. I know some aren't in the greatest form, or maybe don't feel like they're the best course fit or whatever, but man, that's a lot of guys in the field where it kind of balances out after this versus guys like Harmon, Scott, English, Henley, Tom, Kim, Fowler. You know what I mean? Like the top is definitely better. But if you just don't like Connors, then why not go with your pick your poison up top, any of the guys Spieth up, and get Fleetwood as your second guy in. That could be something you do. Not to say you can't start with Fleetwood, but I definitely think that's a way where you could feel a little bit better about it, where you're fading the top guys there and go down from there. So I will add that in. I think the guys at the very top are super interesting because I just don't see how they get played, right? We already talked about Morikawa in the low 10s, but how does Homa and Fitz get a bunch of ownership? Like, people would at least consider Spieth beforehand because of his course history, Texas, all those factors. Connors for sure. Mayo did make a good point that people still do like playing Fleetwood, and I'm okay with that still, but just to note it. And then Benny Ann, who always gets a little bit of love as well. So it does change this range up some, and I think the guys like Morikawa in the low 10s and Homa and Fitz in the upper 9s will be at least where I have some interest, and then actually Fleetwood would be the guy that stands out. Put him as like your second guy in instead of Connors if they both make the cut, but Connors is down the board 45th or something, and Fleetwood's making a run. You're just way ahead of those other lineups that have that combination up top. So that would be my take in there. And then I also think loading up the 9Ks, that's something I definitely put in the slate plan. When I get to the roster construction stuff, I'll fill all that out right after the show, where that's something I would see as well, where you could get heavy on the 9K range, because that would make up for if you already don't believe in Kawa and Decky and whatever, and you don't want the Oberg chalk, and then your last call is just Rory versus those guys. Well, you can have some Rory lineups and then get overweight in the 9K range in the other one. So different ways you can go about building here, but I definitely think that's one that stands out to me. Hoop 8K range, not much bigger. It is 8 guys. Ricky Fowler at the bottom with Tom Kim, Henley, English, Scott, and then up at the top down we have Horschel, Noren, and Brian Harmon. What's your thoughts on this 8K range?
Yeah, so at the top, I mean, again, we talked about a little bit on the first look show. I just have a hard time playing Billy Horschel at 8,900, but then you look at the results. He's been playing really, really well. I mean, missed the cut at the Players, but, you know, Players is a volatile course, and you see a lot of volatile finishes, so maybe you can give him the free pass there. Outside of that, it's 9th, it's 12th, it's 7th, playing really well. Curious to get your opinion on Billy. So that's one I really want. I'm just a little bit torn. He's not the keeper cut option in this range, but still a little torn on Billy. Noren, I will be on, just playing very solid golf, hasn't missed a cut. I think he's a safe option with some upside as well. Brian Harmon, I think, is a guy that could be a little more expensive at 86. I think we're getting a little bit of value there. Harris English, I absolutely love. Been playing a ton of Harris English. The results have been great. Back to his form like 2 years ago. I mean, he was like a top 10 to 15 golfer 2 seasons ago. Last year had the injury, I believe, and played like shit. But now he's back, and love Harris English. Henley, I think this course could set up nicely for him. Another guy that had been playing well and then missed the cut at the Players. Like, do we give these guys the free pass on the missed cut at the Players? I am, for the most part. So I'm in on Henley. And then Tom Kim should be like 6,700, and Ricky Fowler should be like 6,800. So both those guys are fades for me. The keeper cut guy in this range is Adam Scott. Not sure what to do with Adam Scott.
All right,
So
I'll throw that one
that's
up
where we're
there.
at.
I'm pulling up something else, but I will say
Yeah.
one thing in the chat that they brought up. I actually don't agree that Billy Ho is going to be owned. Like everyone got him at a big ownership number 2 when you can get Connors, Fleetwood, and right there, and we know everybody's on Noren. Even if some of the people pivot off of Noren, I feel like they go like even Mayo today was happy to go down to Scott. He liked it sort of in the order of English, Harmon, Scott by the sounds of it when I was talking to him. But there's just all those guys down below, or just changing your roster construction. So I actually think Billy Ho is going to come back, right? I don't think he's going to stay at that 15% range.
You like him?
I don't love him. No, but I'm saying I don't think I think people are off him just because the ownership and the price. I get the price conversation. I get that it's no longer in Florida where he usually has success, all that stuff. But man, I don't see the 15 to 18% ownership we're seeing out there. Some and go from there. What else is there?
Yeah, I don't know. Like Horschel, very torn on him. Maybe I don't know what to do. It'll be a last minute decision for me.
Yeah, and I won't say I'm completely out because the one other note too that I do, I mean, this is a complete narrative too, but I've had success with it in the past. Think back to Ian Poulter at the Houston Open. I tweeted about it last week, was the motivation factor. Like Horschel is not in the Masters, got to get the job done this week. And he's the type of guy that can get the job done and then come up short late. And it sucks for him, but could still be very good for us because it's a top 5 or a top 6 or something like that at 8,900. Come through a pivot right there off of Noren. And if I don't think the ownership is high, and I think it's a little bit lower than others think, then he's actually not as bad. He actually becomes a similar play to like those guys that are around him. So we'll see where that one goes. But for sure, from a roster construction standpoint, again, way I try and look at these angles is like Rory and a couple of these guys. I know last week people, there's no way. Can't be that. Can't be Jaeger and Rye in that range with Scotty. But in the end, that was like the best sort of setup. And there was so many guys that came through down low that if you really committed to that sort of roster construction where everybody else was skipping it, I think that's the case. Adam Scott really pops in our course fit rankings. And I always like Adam Scott in the sort of mid-tier or weaker fields than what he usually plays in. So, for me, that's just another thing there. But like Henley, I don't mind Tom Kim. I'm okay with him. He's got like no ownership. Adam Scott, and then maybe Billy Ho up top, maybe some Harmon. Like I can use 8K guys, but not as much love for English or Ricky or some of the other guys in this range. So those would be the ones that stood out to me. What do we got here for Adam Scott? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Man, these are really even again. My 2 votes, though, is to keep, and the late ones coming in are keep.
Yeah.
Cut.
You're going to be the tiebreaker, it looks like.
This one's a good point, too. Austin's been bringing some good stuff to the chat today, so we appreciate you, Austin. It says, find it hard to cut Scott when I agree with your take on Fowler and Kim. He's like, what if you're going to use guys in here, kind of has to fit somewhere. And then there's other angles that you can just take it from. The Billy Ho thing, like I won't go be heavy on it because of that. Don't forget what he's been doing. 7th, 12th, and 9th in 3 of his last 4. I mean, in similar type fields or stronger. So, some worse, some stronger. But my point would be he's definitely fine to get in your lineups there. I actually kind of like that more now that I think it from that angle too. And Kevin asks, there's no listener leagues. This is blowing my mind. I get it, but like there's no Pat Mayo listener league anymore. There's no Fantasy Golf Degenerates listener league anymore. The SHIPIT Nation listener league is the same as the Fantasy Golf Degenerates listener league was, which was a watered down version of the Mayo league. The only difference was Mayo got no rake versus 9 or 10% rake in this. So if you haven't yet done so, in our Discord, it's pinned at the top in the golf segment on my X/Twitter account, whatever you want to call it, at ToeTagginTambo. You can go find it on there pretty quickly. It's a $5 3 max. It's like 9 or 10% rake. So it's low rake. It's a balanced payout structure. $500 for first, $50 for 10th, $10 to min cash, and it's a $5 3 max. So for $15, you're not finding a better angle on that at all. Nick says, interested in y'all take with someone like Billy Ho, bet outright to kind of hedge fading the chalk. I don't think he's the chalk. We'll wait and see. Again, 13 to 14%. Maybe you think that is, but if you got Noren at 22, 23 right beside him, is he really? And then all these other factors. So I don't know. We'll see.
I don't necessarily hate that move. I've done that in the past. Like if I'm fading a guy that I think has win upside, to put a little, little coin on him to win and use it as a hedge. Like I don't hate that move.
Yeah. Trying to think of the full acronym, but definitely the H in Hoop stands for hedge for sure. We talk about this in Showdown all the time. Hoop loves a good hedge. We'll say that. Not just in
it's weird though, because I usually
not just in the yard work, the hedges, but he likes a good hedge in betting as well.
It is funny though, because it's really only in PGA when I look to do it. Like the other sports, I just let everything ride. But in PGA, I think you have opportunities for more natural hedges where you can just bet on a guy to win. You can't necessarily do that in some of these other sports. So it's like easier, I think, in PGA DFS to create these hedges. You have the showdown opportunities to create some natural hedges. So definitely easier in PGA than any of these other sports.
I think MMA is good for it, right?
MMA.
MMA
definitely. And that's where I never hedge. I let it ride. If I know I need this guy, I just let it go.
Well, you've been doing pretty good with that sport, letting it ride. So we'll let that follow suit. Obviously, you get all of our MMA stuff when you sign up at shipitnation.com. Again, remind everybody quickly, but the 15% off code is going away. We talked about it at the top of the show. If you missed it, we're going to be going back to the 10% off. So get this. Will be probably for a little bit while longer, but just to let you guys know, after the Masters is when you can start to see things turn away. And then it'll also be where our all access goes up to the $6.99. So if you are trying to lock in the $5.09 for all 8 sports for the entire season, definitely now is the time. I can't say much more than that, but now is definitely the time to lock things in. Let's go back to this here, Hoop. It looks like the winner was Adam Scott Keep, because it was pretty close, and then I voted to keep. I'm on the keepers with you this week. So Adam Scott was a keeper. 7K range is going to be, how many guys we got here? 7K range is 17 guys. Yeah, and then of note, most of the builds up top land in this lower 7K range. Like your Oberg, Connors lineups land down here. Your Rory lineups sort of get you down here. Like this is the range that's going to be popular. It looks like Lucas Glover, Mav McNeely, people always like Bo Hostler, Akshay Bhatia, Rai, Bez, that upper 7K range for sure. Bez, Rai, and Akshay is going to be probably the most popular along with Glover. But what are you thinking here in the 7K range? We got Bez down to your boy Hubbard, and Sam Ryder's down there as well.
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely a drop off in terms of talent from the top of this range down to the bottom. I mean, a lot of these guys at the top, solid plays. Bez, I mean, I've just been playing a lot of Bez. I think it's one of those situations. If you've been on him, you just stay on him. He's been good. The results are getting better. Aaron Rai has been solid. Had the one missed cut at the Valspar. Outside of that, good, and was 7th last place. Bhatia, the one nice thing about Bhatia, it's like all his finishes are good. Like he's either missing the cut or finishing like T17 or better. Like that's kind of what you want in GPPs, especially at his price tag is 7,700. Like you love that in GPP. So I think you continue to play him. Eric Cole at 76. I don't know, hot start there has kind of cooled off, but I mean, he's still in contention to get a top 20, which at 7,600, you kind of want. Keith Mitchell, I think, could be a little more expensive in this field. I know he missed the cut last week and then had the 73rd at the Players, but he's another one of these guys that he's got the top 15, top 10 upside that we definitely want. So I'm in on him. Mav McNeely, I'm always in on. EVR, where's our guy Ryan? I'm sure he mentioned it somewhere in the chat, but the miscut at the Players. But prior to that was very solid. Another guy that his finishes have been really, really good. So you're seeing a trend in this range where these guys, when they make the cut, the finishes have been very, very solid. So you like that. Glover, continues to play pretty solid. Austin Eckroyd, I kind of like here as well. And then I'm always on Mark Hubbard. I mean, Mark Hubbard's always a guy that I'm in on. The keeper cut in this range is kind of a random name, and I'm guessing people are going to say cut, but the name I had here, which I don't know, I could easily cut his ass, is Brendan Todd, 7,100. Not too sure, and I have like no conviction on him at all. So if you guys say to cut him, he'll be out of the player pool very, very quickly.
The snippers are going to add up here pretty quickly. I think cuts.
Yeah, I think so.
Common one. Birdie Monster in the building. Harry, shout out to him, says, let's go, everybody. But Tambo, please no rat stories. Yeah. Kenny, I might have to quit the show, I'll be honest, because that story was bad. So we'll see. But lots of cuts coming in early on here for Brendan Todd.
Yeah, he's out there. It's easy. Yeah, I mean, if you say cut, then he's done, and we can just end that segment. Yeah, I'm sure you're not playing him, are you?
I don't think I'll have any Brendan Todd. No, he's not up in my priority list. So.
Some keeps are turning the tide a little bit.
Yeah,
Couple
people just
keeps
are
in there.
contrarian, right? They see everybody else and they hop in and like, I'll be different. That's fine. We love a good contrarian, but Harry put up extra cuts. So that tells you everything we need to know. I will say, and again, this is stuff that we put up in the slate plan over on the site every week. I know there's a lot of people that probably have the free week that are watching this one. We want you to stick around. We want you to know that it's the place to be if you're at other sites. Not forcing you to go and cancel them. I'm just saying if you think you've got enough of what you need and it's at an affordable price and it's better than some of the sites you're at now and paying a lot for, you could just come over and join us. We are going to send a special offer out to everybody that got the free week. Anybody who has anything now with us can just reach out to info@ShipItNation. We can help with upgrading your package, whatever it might be that you want to get to. But just to note, like, this is the spot, Hoop, where it's still Bezadenhout, Aaron Rai, and Akshay Bhatia. Like, yes, they make sense sort of in their own bucket because we talk about this all the time with a guy like Akshay where it's last week's result or it's nothing. It's almost like Max Homa in the beginning of his career. It was like top sixth or like or complete miscut or horrible result for the week. So I'm just saying, if you're building some single entry lineups and everyone's going to be so focused on Oberg and Connors and Norin, it's like maybe they're all right, and not all of them, but I'm just saying picking your spot there, and maybe it's just fading this range up top, like Bez, Rai, and Bhatia. There's still guys, like what's the real difference going down to, Hostler, EVR, Hogard, Glover. Like Glover's popular too. You can even move off him, but like Eckroat, some of these guys down here where, Hubbard, Ryder, all these guys are going to be able to pop at any given moment. So I liked Akshay last week. I still love him this week. He pops in our course fit rankings, but I'm saying he's almost the same conversation we had about Rory up top, where it's like, if he's out of it, he's out of it. That's how his numbers go. Look at his history. It's almost always the same. Let me go see if I've got it here. Yep. 11th, 17th, 3 missed cuts, a 13th missed cut, a 13th. Like, the guy doesn't come here to finish 40th. He's all the way in or he's all the way out. I think you should put someone like that in your pool and be okay with it if he screws you, because if he comes through, you're probably getting the full upside. It's been consistent.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a very good talking point too, especially in GPPs. Like you want the volatility and you want the upside, and that's exactly what he offers. If he came out and was finishing 15th, 13th, 11th every week, he'd be $9,000. Like, he's in the 7K range because he mixes in those freaking cuts very often. So you're getting, to me, it's like you're getting a discount on a guy that has the win upside, So that's kind of how I view him. Like, it's a discounted rate on a guy that can go out there and be in the winning lineup this week.
Yeah. And he hurt my feelings last week because I had a top 8 each way and he came 11th, T11. So that sucked, but just hop right back on. I think he's definitely interesting there. Mav and EVR, Hogard, Hoygaard, however you want to call it, guard the hose is the one, right? You go to him. That's the guy.
Protect the hose, man. You got to protect the hose.
Those 3 options right there with Glover. Again, it's Lucas Glover. Like, yeah, makes sense. I get why people are going to him. What's his exact stuff lately, just for those that want the update? So 11th, a miscut, a 30th, and a 35th. Now, again, delete the names because I don't even know why the name would matter, to be honest. But let's delete the names. This other guy is during the same time frame as Lucas Glover's 11th, miscut, 30th, and 35th. But we're almost all in on this guy at that range. Let me tell you about this guy. Yeah, a miscut in his most recent, but that was a tough event. Then it was 25th, 2nd, and 8th. You say, oh, but Glover's been good here. He had a 4th and a 14th. Well, this recently he had a 45th. This guy had a miscut and a 14th. So the difference is one is Lucas Glover, one is Eric Van Rooyen. And I'm not one to pump him up. As you know, our guy Rin does enough of that in the chat, but I'm just saying the setup is that. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, it's still Lucas Glover. Like, it is what it is. It's just my point. Yeah. It's not to shit on Glover as much as what people are just focused so much, hyper-focused on one play and one range, and then it becomes all about that. There are so many guys to get different with in this range that still pop, that still project well, that have lower ownership, that still fit the exact same build you're trying to build. So lots of ways to get different. I actually don't hate this call. This is a funny one. Our guy Birdie Monster, Glover is a poor man's Connors. If you want to sub him in as your Corey Connors and say I'm not using Connors with him like many will, but I want to use someone similar at a much cheaper price and a similar ownership based on the spot that they're in, you can get away with it. It's not who you play, it's how you play them. Obviously, don't go jam them all in, Connors, Norin, Glover, etc., because in a large field tournament, you're just not giving yourself any leverage to the top in that scenario for the most part, unless you jam all like 1% plays in at the bottom of that. But still, this range has some guys who just going through it. I talked about Akshay and the reason, but Keith Mitchell is the same sort of way, kind of boom bust. Usually people like Keith Mitchell and Bo Hostler, even McCarthy, nobody's liked them lately, and it looks like they're not going to like them again this week either. That's just $300 below Bez and down 300 or 400 to those three guys. EVR, Højgaard, whatever you want to call it. Eckroat is there also, another guy that you could find. He looks like he's getting a little steam, but still could stay sub 10%. So I definitely think that was good too. And then I don't think there's much else here. I guess, did you have a take on like your boy Hubbard at the bottom? You might have mentioned it in my rant, but anything else?
Always, you know that. Always in. Just have to. And I do like him this week at 7K flat. He's made every single cut this season. The 30th at the Players, 30th last week. Like, I'm just always in on Hubbard, and he's been good, and it makes sense.
Yeah, DePeach in Discord, a member, we appreciate you, says Putnam is an option. That's what Mayo asked me about today and said I usually like him. I actually think I do. He's another guy that just popped up for me that's like low to no ownership. He's $100 less than Glover. He's right there. You're talking about a potential like 12 to 15% versus 3%, where it's like a 4 or 5x difference. And again, not who you play, it's how you play them. You can get away with Glover and get different elsewhere, but I just think they're very similar, to be honest. And it's one event, it's 1 week. Anything can happen on any given week. So as our guy, variance is our friend.
Yeah, Victor Perez as well, another guy to add to that list that has had high-end finishes, like when he makes the cut recently. Now it's been in some weaker field events, but 17th last week, 3rd at Puerto Rico, 16th at the Cognizant. This is a similar field to some of those events, and he's been solid when he makes the cut. A lot of guys in the 7K range fit that bill, where when they make the cut, they've had these high-end finishes. So just something important to point out there.
Yeah, and one thing on him, just real quick, like, again, look at this. It's the same shit. You go back, it's actually most of the same events, to be honest. Glover came 35th. He came 16th. Glover came 30th. Yeah. He came 3rd. He missed the cut, but Glover came 11th. Glover didn't play. He came 17th and paid it right back. Like, again, same dude probably. Like, literally the same option. You just, one is going to be 2% and one's going to be 15%. It's like that's what you're seeing right now. Again, we'll have the final updated numbers on the site, shipitnation.com. You can use Hoop15 to get 15% off on PGA only. If you don't want to get a discount, you just want to try it out for a week. If you buy in right now for $14, you get everything for this week, and you'll get right through to the Masters next week as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet done so. Let's go into the 6K range. A lot more guys down here, so just sort of pick and choose your spots. We're at the 45-minute mark, give or take. So not to be here all day, but I think the 6K range is very playable again. So who are some of the guys that stand out for you?
I think it's very playable this week, and that's why I do think people end up getting to Rory up top because of how many guys down here you can feel comfortable with rostering this week. Doug Gim was a very popular guy as of like 2 weeks ago. Now, he's 6,900 and not as many people want to play him. I mean, he was on that heater that we talked about where he went 13th, 12th, 8th, 16th, 16th, goes to the Valspar, 67th, misses the cut last week. I'm fine going back to him, to be honest, at 69. Adam Schenk is, similar to Mark Hubbard, where I typically like playing Schenk, and he's been solid. 19th at the Players and 33rd at the Valspar. Good with him. KH Lee, good at TPC courses. Lee Hodges, been playing a lot of Lee Hodges. The results have been great. 4 out of 5 made cuts and some high-end finishes. 12th at the Arnold Palmer. 35th at the Players, great for a guy like Lee Hodges. 26th at the Valspar. I think Hodges is a phenomenal play. Davis Thompson, Ben Griffin, Andrew Novak, Seamus Power, Grazerman, Cawley. I'm just naming guys that I think are playable. I'm not necessarily on all these guys. These are guys I think are playable in this 6K range. Schmid, 6,300. I mean, his recent results, he should be in the 7K range. Most mispriced guy in this field, as far as I'm concerned.
Most disrespected?
Most disrespected player in the field. And you know what happened last time I made that statement on a guy? Mr. Stanger got the job done. So most disrespectful price tag.
Stanger got the 38th place done, the job.
It was like 5K. What are you talking? He's like 5,900. You take that all day.
Nowhere near a winning lineup, but he got it done. He made the cut for you.
Yeah,
I'm hard on Stanger. I will say, but I will note that like your Hodges call, like he won last year. He came 6th here last year. That's better than Glover. His recent results, his miscuts further away than Glover's, and he's got a 12th, a 26th, and a 35th in the same fields. Like like Hodges will have ownership. He's going to be 7 to 10%, but it's like that's the whole point. He's the same as Glover. What's the difference between him and Glover? Like I don't know. The Glover one seems really tough for me, and maybe you bet Glover like first round leader and he comes out hot or something like that. But Glover is not in our top 25 in the course fit rankings. And you got other guys that are down there that are. So it's like, it is really interesting just to go down into this range and see some of these other guys. And that's just some notes I'm seeing on, if you're going off of what everyone's saying about him, the recent finishes in his history, there's people with better history and better recent results for a lot cheaper. So I really don't understand that fully.
Yeah. And throw Schmidt into that conversation too, because he's right there. I mean, Schmidt, Glover, I mean, $1,000 apart. I mean, our guy, Schmidt, yeah, exactly. Nick knows what's up. I mean, Schmidt's, man, great play. Most disrespected price tag in this field for sure. Toasty, you want to, follow what he did last week, had the T2. I don't hate that at 63, taking a chance there. CT Pan, I currently have in my player pool at 6,100. I don't really know why, but he's currently in there, so I wanted to throw that out. And then 6K flat. You guys know I'm on Mr. Stanger, 6K. And
Who's the keeper cut?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do have the keeper cut here. The keeper cut is a tough one for me because it's a guy that I typically play, but the results have not been great. Adams Fenson, keeper cut. But Stanger, I'm on. All I need is you to talk some shit about him. When you talk shit about him, he does great. So you can take over and do your little Stanger spiel, and it'll work out great for all us loyal Stanger supporters.
Yeah, he's never done. Actually, last time he missed the cut. You called. You said it was going to work.
You probably played him. You probably played him. That's probably what. That's why.
No. I
guarantee you played his ass at the Valspar. Guaranteed you played him at the Valspar.
I have to check. I don't think so.
I bet you did. That's the only reason you missed
Schmidt has been on fire for sure. You talked about him. Svensson's interesting. But who's the guy Kuchar got asked about earlier was one guy. Did you have a Kuchar take? Because he's the course history king. Like, look at him, 3rd, 2nd, 12th, and 7th, the last 4. But recently it's been all missed cuts and then a 49.
Dude, it's been every single event he's played in recently. Oh, this is the course history guy. You got to play Kuchar, and he freaking sucks. I'm not playing Kuchar. I think he's easy fade.
All right, and then Pam asked about Joseph Bramlett. Joseph Pamlet. We'll give Pam the nickname on it. What are you doing with Joseph Bramlett?
That's your boy, right? Bramlett?
Yeah.
You like Bramlett? What is he at? 6,100. Oh, yeah, I can play. I definitely play. 4 out of 5 made cuts. Yeah, I'm in on a similar field to where he's been having success. Definitely in on Bramlett. Good call. Great call, actually.
This is actually a good call, too. What are we having a first look for the Masters still, even though everyone already looked? I think we will, because the first look is not just the pricing and to surprise us, but I think we'll talk through it a little bit more too, because it was what I expected. I was really interested to see how they would do it. I thought for sure they would get rid of the 5K thing because the field's already limited. There's already enough guys that you could throw away, and you still have to put Scotty up there a little bit. So I was like, I just think they'll keep it this way, and that is what they went with. So it wasn't that surprising for me. I will note that Svensson got quite a few cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only like 2. Man, there's not many keeps for him. Canada? Cut for sure. Billy, you're cut. Get out of here. Yeah, he knows. I'm actually more American than Canadian when it comes to that stuff too. Who likes hockey, right? And then B-Wall says Tambo hates him. I don't know. I don't hate him at all. I actually don't even know much about him besides these results and stuff. But I will say it's like I talk about this all the time. I'm not content with your 35th and your 35th and your 38th places. Like I don't care that he's only that price. That's the old world that we used to play in, where like a 6-6 matters so much. There's 5 of 6s winning now when we've got prices like this, because you can get 5 serious dudes in there where you just need a 6th to come through. Now, if you're like Hoop and you have like 15% Stanger, maybe it ends up working out because he is your 6th guy that gets through the cut and does it. The Charlie Hoffman Open. Did you have any Charlie Hoffman love?
No thanks. Definitely.
I don't think I'm doing too much of that stuff. No. Who is Justin talking about up here? Vegas plays best.
Vegas.
Gained on approach in his last 3. How much is Johnny Vegas here?
62.
Like, this is the prime example. Oh, Chan Kim. Mayo was talking about again to do. The guy had a hole in 1 and still came 50 for, not that it matters, 1 hole. My point more so being Chan Kim coming 61st, 68th, 67th, and 53rd. Congrats on making the cut. You're worthless. Does nothing for us in DFS. Not him personally. For what we need. We're playing DFS.
You need like the high-end finishes in the 6K range like Stanger provides, the 30 to 20 T20 upside.
Chan Kim makes Stanger look like Scotty Scheffler in that case. Yeah, because it's like the top-end finishes versus what he does. So definitely agree on that. There was somebody else, though. You were just talking. Who was the guy you were just talking about a second ago?
Svensson? Or no?
No, we're off that guy.
Someone, was it Bramlett? Someone... proposed brand.
I know someone. Vegas. How much was Vegas?
62.
So Vegas is 6,200. And he's coming off of 36th. I don't know. If you want to play him, sure. He's probably fine. Our guy Alex, shout out to Alex, had a huge week last week and ended up getting a bunch. I think he got like 3 or 4 Millie Maker tickets for the Mega, the 22-22. Won the Sunday round 4 showdown slate for the 254 max for 20K, I believe, or 10K. And so congrats to him on a huge week. I think it was 10K for first to that, but he had Vegas in his lineup. So if you like Johnny Vegas, I wouldn't hate you for going there. But I like, I don't know, like your boy Rio Hisatsune.
Yeah,
He's
I like
in there.
him too.
I like Grazerman because people are just talking about him, but they're not going to use him. I like JJ Spawn. I like Lashley. Lashley's getting like 3 or 4%, so maybe whatever. But Bramlett, who Pam brought up there earlier. Some of these guys are popping for us. Bridgman, we were talking about this today. Bridgman, Joe Highsmith, Grazerman, these are all the same dude. So it's just basically plug those guys in. I think Grayson Sig is another guy that would fit the mold. It's not been great, though, but he has like some 17ths and 19ths mixed in with his 45ths. Maybe not, but just to note it, like there's definite top 20 upside in there with a guy like him. And then we're into the 5Ks. Anybody you want to really shout out here in the 5K range, Hoop? We got about 5 minutes before we get out of here.
Mostly fades. I mean, there's a couple guys I have some interest in. Aaron Badley. I mean, again, if I don't end up with anyone in the 5K range, I'll be totally fine this week. Eric Barnes has had some solid finishes. Joe Highsmith at 5,800. Maybe Justin Lauer at 5,700, but man, I'd be totally fine staying away from this range. I said it is not a good one. So Neesmith at 55, but he's been playing bad. Hayden Springer at 5,500. I don't know. Like again, if I don't play anyone down here, I'm good with it.
Yeah, and just real quick because I love our guy here. Myron's always in here supporting. Appreciate you, Myron. But this one, like people next year, like it's gonna say the same thing about Peter Malnati. Sorry, Peter. Good for you getting your win, but like a winner in this year, like, yeah, it might be the only win we see from them for a while. So that really, again, not that you need to win at the price point. I'm just saying, I know my boy Baroff bet him at like 300 to 1. So maybe he does come through in the clutch this week. But again, if you're playing him, just make sure you're getting him. Play him. Like actually get him in your lineups, make it happen so that you've got enough love for a guy like this. But I tend to agree with Harry. It's, I think it does make a case, Hoop. And I know you've been more in the tournament streets. So instead of going through a bunch more names that I could make a case for a ton of them, but I don't really have much, I will say this, like Kenny brought it up on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates on Monday, and I thought it was sort of bang on, is it's almost changed the game for cash games to be more eligible again, because I don't think people are adapting at all. Cash games is all about being safe and getting these guys through. You can get through again now with a 4 or 6 if you've got the right 4 and just smash. Like Kenny had a 5 or 6 last week, was a top 1%, and one of the guys was horrible, just made the cut. And then another guy missed the cut, but it was like the 4 other guys were good enough that you're in the mix. So what's your thoughts on that? Because I think it's interesting. And then can you apply it to tournaments as well?
For cash games, for sure. I mean, 4 out of 6, 4 high-end finishes is going to beat 5 out of 6, and in some cases 6 out of 6, where it's all middling stuff like T30 or worse. So like you can definitely be more aggressive in cash games where people typically have the mindset of wanting to be safe and maybe staying in the balance type range or the mid-tier stuff can definitely be more aggressive. I mean, you get the guy that wins this event, that's going to essentially take away one spot. Like if you have the guy that wins 4 out of 6 and your opponent's 5 out of 6 or even 6 out of 6 and doesn't have that guy that wins, like you're going to be live to win. So I think it makes sense. In tournaments, I think it's a little more difficult because you still need those 5K guys to have a solid finish to do well in tournaments. Yeah, you might be able to get in and cash or get a min cash or something, but if you're trying to ship the whole thing, it's going to be very rare for these cheap guys to get to that top 20, top 25 finish where you really need them to be. And then you also have to have the guys that win. So, in cash games, it's crazy to think it might be more valuable going with some of these 5K guys or cheap guys.
Yeah, I'm going to elaborate on that for 2 seconds just because I think it's a good topic of conversation, and we'll get out of here after this. But like the week Malnati won, like did you have enough Malnati? Did you have enough Chandler Phillips? Did you have enough Carl Yuan? Did you have enough Ryan Moore? I know people are talking about him this week. They certainly were not talking about him that week. You go back to it like Kevin Roy's, the Ches Reeves, all these guys, you probably didn't commit in the right way, like I always talk about. So I will say this, and like Harry brings up a good point. You don't even need 5Ks. If you want to play Rory, we can land in the 7s. I get it. I'm going to say this, though. It's almost like a flip-flop, Hoop, because in cash, people are playing safe. And it's not good enough because if you get a bunch of, you get 4 top 20s and then a 45th and a 60th, your lineup probably sucks. Someone's got the winner. Someone's got a guy that's up there. Like, let's say the winner is hard to come by. A Peter Malnati week, no one has him in cash. So it doesn't matter anyway. So it goes to your Cam Young. Well, someone's got Cam Young, Xander, etc. I'm just using the Valspar week as one example. In tournaments, I actually think it's the other way. People are getting, people think in tournaments, you have to be nuts. So what's happening? Everyone's loading up on these 5K guys or like a spread out of ownership across the 5s and the 6s. Even if it's not the 5s, you say that's crazy, they're not getting owned. They're all getting like 0.5 and 1 and this stuff. That still adds up. And then take it a step further and just call it the 6Ks then. My point is the 6s are still not necessarily needed in some cases. Like last week, you could have had Scotty, Steven Yeager, and you could have had Aaron Rye, and then some 7K guys and been up there. And if you happen to have a 5K guy that made it work or whatever the final winning lineup ended up being, that's fine. Someone might have it. But I'm saying the majority of people looking for that and trying to make it happen in tournaments is probably the wrong way to go about it. Just because you have the pricing doesn't mean you need to use it. In cash, when people are playing super safe, it actually kind of makes a little bit of sense to use. It could be a $6,200 guy. It doesn't have to be the 5s. There is no set number on this. I'm saying the strategy of punting to get the 5 guys in makes a lot of sense. And that's where you can really get some really good cut equity, some really good top 20 equity, some win equity that's built into the lineup. And if your guy happens to come through, well, even better then. But I think people are playing it the wrong way to either side. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think that's another interesting way to take this new pricing and run with it. So any other thoughts from you when it comes to that stuff?
No, I definitely agree with everything you said there. I think it makes a lot of sense. And people are slow to adapt to change. There's no doubt about it. And, people are definitely slow to adapt to this new pricing structure that we're probably going to see all season long. There's no doubt about it. Like in the majors, the bigger fields and stuff. Yeah, probably not in the, no cut events with smaller fields. Probably don't see it. But in these full field events, weaker field events, we're going to continue to see this 5K range. And again, people are always slow to adapt to things like this.
Yeah, people are slow to adapt to the pricing structure across the industry too. Best one going right here where you can get set up on it. So remember the 15% off code Hoop15 takes this down. It works out to about $5 per event. It will include swing season, everything. It's the entire season wraparound that it goes through. $33 a month. It's basically $1 a day and you get everything that we offer. So it's already projections and ownership. The initials are up. The finals will go up tonight. The showdown projections and ownership will go up tonight for round 1. The stone and the slate plan are round 2 through 4, as it states at the top. The stone, the rough draft is up. So that's already gone up. The core report's almost done. It's just waiting on mine, which will be after the show. The value report is up. It's free to check out. If you're not a member, you can go see this. It's free from our guy, Lee. Free from Lee. Check that out. Hoops player pool will go up. The exposures will be updated later. My slate plan talking through even more strategy. Like Deacon says here, the strategy talking in this community is awesome. It's not just on the shows like this. It's within the community as well in that Discord. So you're going to want to get in there. The course fit rankings are already up and the model rankings are already up. So ton of the content's been up already. You guys can get after it. If you work full-time jobs, you have a family, whatever you got to do, different things that you have to do each day, this allows you to get after it when you can and know that it's going to be there and be ready for you. You should definitely get into the Discord though, if you want to do that. And then lastly, if you go to the all access memberships, $58, so less than $2 a day for all the sports. You lock it in. It's not 1 month only like other places, or $42 a month. You take this down to $509. A lot of places charging $500-$600 for one single sport. You're going to get all 8 of the major sports on DraftKings. There's FanDuel projections in there too, the ownership, the tools, the rankings, the core and player pool, all of that. So lots of different stuff going on, lots more stuff coming out soon. If you guys want to check it out, go now is the time. Trust me, like I said, 6 or 7 days, we'll have the big news out, but Hoop 15 gets you in. Lock in the price now on that stuff, 15% off, and be good to go. Hoop, any final thoughts before we get out of here, my man?
Excited for this week, excited for the future of SHIPIT Nation, excited for the Masters. There's a lot to be excited about, in terms of this week. Let's get those logos to the top. Very confident we will continue this nice little heater we're on. And, good luck to everyone out there.
Yeah, good luck to everybody. Thank you guys for your support. As always, coming up on our 1-year anniversary next month. It's been amazing. The Masters next week. Get in on all the action. ShipItNation.com, code Hoop15. Thank you guys for watching. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!